Hey everyone, welcome back to another session. So we have a couple of more sessions that are going to be about 30 minutes long, and this is the Mike has such a privilege. And then after that, we have a bunch of 20-minute sessions, which is going to make it, just the overall process a little bit more fast-paced, I want to say. But I wanted to introduce my next speaker here, and that is Mike with a compound. And you can see if you just make a little bit taller, 7 cents. There you go. And I think also you can see on the background there is also 7 cents. Alrighty, lots of stuff there. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you join the session. Our good friends at 7 cents, and Mike is going to talk about email marketing.
Awesome. Well, Natalie, first and foremost, thanks for having me, and everybody, appreciate you joining. I think so far the day has been just absolutely fantastic. I've joined a number of sessions, so lots of learning, and obviously a lot of pressure on me to keep things going. So should we just go ahead and kick things off?
Go ahead and let's kick things off.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, make sure we got potential technical difficulty out of the way, and then we can kind of go from there. So assume everybody can see my screen. If not, just drop something in chat. Before I kind of kick things off, I always love to ask this question in these types of sessions. And if you could just drop something in chat of either yes or no. How many of you, or what are your feelings? Do you think email's dead? There's obviously been a lot of pundits over the years that say email is going to die, and then ultimately it comes back, and then there's more pundits. All right, so we got a couple comments coming in that say it's not dead, which is awesome. So without further ado, let's kind of kick things off. Hopefully you walk away today with a couple of actionable items from today's session. Just a quick agenda as far as what we're going to cover. So I'll do a brief intro to who I am, what I do, and then we're really going to talk a little bit about kind of like master email channel. It looks like a lot of you are coming in saying email is definitely not dead. Obviously, I totally agree with you. Otherwise, I wouldn't be in the position that I am. But there are certainly some significant challenges that we're all facing in the world of email today, and ultimately in the world of marketing. And then I'm going to finish the session off with a couple of available resources that you can use, and hopefully you get a little bit of value from them. Maybe a couple takeaways that you can bring to your senior leadership to ultimately help you with your jobs. So quick background on myself. The CEO, one of the co-founders of 7 cents. We've actually been in the HubSpot ecosystem for about, I want to say about 6 years now. So we were one of the original, what they called back then, Connect partners. And we've been working with their engineering team for a long time. So about 6 years in that ecosystem. So know lots of folks there. They're an absolutely fantastic partner. And I would say they are definitely our top partner, our top integration. We do have an integration with Marketo, but let's not go there. We're just big fans of HubSpot. In fact, use them internally. So a bit of background on myself. I started my career as a sales professional, or actually as a software engineer, then made the jump to the dark side of technology sales, moved into eventually sales leadership roles. And it was during kind of like that time that I just really realized the power of email and just how effective you could be with it. And this is dating back to, I hate to date myself, even back in 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, here we are 11 years later, and email is still just like the total workhorse. So if you can't tell by just kind of the passion in my voice, absolutely love email, love exploring the power of it, and love learning new things about it. I certainly know more about it today than I did even a month ago versus 6 years ago. So email, we kind of live in what I call this kind of pull world. And what I mean by that is we're all living in this kind of like inboundish type world. And that's ultimately where we want to bring our marketing effort to live in this pull world. But one of the fundamental challenges with email is it's a push communication tool. Like, you own your list, you own the ability to reach people, and I'll go into why that can sometimes become a challenge. So it's this critical linchpin in really just managing relationships with customers, prospects, business partners, even family and friends in today's world. But this is what your audience's life looks like. This is what our life looks like. I'm not sure if you've ever down the street in Times Square before in New York City, but or any major city for that matter, it's just absolutely overwhelming. If you think about our daily lives, we're waking up with social notifications, text messages, emails, phone calls. Yes, we all still get phone calls. Unfortunately, we get a lot more spam phone calls than we ever have. We're watching ads on television, ads on websites that we visit. So there's just all of this stuff vying for our attention. And I used to term this the attention economy, but a good friend of mine made a good reference, which was, hey, we don't really, while we think we live in an attention economy, what we really live in is an engagement economy. Like, I may give you attention or look at your email, but that doesn't mean that I actually engaged in it. So again, this is one of the fundamental challenges that we as marketers really need to think about is we're all vying for people's engagement or, again, vying for people's attention. I like the term engagement in today's world. Now, this is what your recipients' inboxes look like. The reason why I pointed this arrow here is, and you probably can't see all of the emails above this, but on average, the average business professional receives anywhere from 120 to 150 emails a day. Decision makers in small to mid-sized businesses tend to get anywhere from 200 to 300 emails a day. And then I know plenty of executives that get anywhere 500 to 1,000 emails a day. They simply can't see it all, let alone engage with it all. And so that presents an even bigger challenge for us as marketers and making sure that people are engaging with all of the content. And I know that today there's been a lot of sessions about content. So getting people to engage is just, again, getting harder. And so now we're going to get into a little bit of brass tacks. In the world of email, I really view there's three fundamental challenges in the world we live in today. One of the reasons that we have one of these challenges is marketers have absolutely abused the marketing channel or the email marketing channel. And what do I mean by that? A lot of viewpoint up until recently was, hey, let's take all of our money, let's put it into social advertising, collect people's email addresses, and we're going to spend a ton of money collecting people's email addresses. And then once we have those email addresses, guess what we're going to do? We're going to treat them like a commodity because it doesn't cost us anything to send email. We've already invested in HubSpot. So we have the number of contacts that we can send email to. So guess what? We need more leads this week. We need more leads this month. Oh, we're all under pressure to deliver more leads. Let's just send more email because it doesn't cost us anything. Well, where the real cost comes in is the attention of the recipients. And guess who has noticed that? The email service providers, the Googles, the Microsofts, the corporate spam systems. So they are literally waging a war on email, on marketers that are sending too much email, and on spammers. And I'm not referencing spammers that are trying to steal your credit card. I'm literally just referring to marketers that are sending far, far too much email and aren't paying attention to are people actually engaging. For example, I can't tell you how many marketers I speak with, and they say, "Oh, I have a pretty decent, open rate of 20%," which, in all intents and purposes, isn't bad. But the question I always come back with is, why are 80% of the people not engaging with you? So kind of flip that on its head, and instead of looking at the 20%, look at the 80% rule. And so again, Google and Microsoft have recognized this. Now, companies like HubSpot, they don't really have a choice, but they provide a little bit of like misinformation or make you feel happier. And you may come and look at a HubSpot instance and you say, I don't really have an email delivery problem. Like, HubSpot told me that 99.9% of my emails got delivered. That really doesn't mean anything. All it means is 99.8% of your emails didn't bounce. That means they were received by the receiving server, but that doesn't mean it actually made it to the inbox. It doesn't even mean it may not have even made it close to the inbox. It may have been quarantined altogether, that it didn't even make it into the spam folder of your recipient. And I'll go through how they kind of classify email and how they determine where to place your email. But a good statistic to know is one in every 5 emails doesn't make it to the inbox or the promotions tab or the clutter folder. It doesn't even make it close to the inbox. The easiest way to think about it is 1 in 5 emails go to the spam folder. So that means about 80% of your emails only making it to the inbox. So that's kind of like one of the first, that's just kind of like brick wall that we have to overcome when we think about our email marketing channel. The second channel is all around email volume. I think everybody that's here today or anybody that you go talk to would agree that we'll get more email this month than we did last month, and last month we got more email than the month before. So it's kind of just ever increasing avalanche of email coming at us day in and day out. And again, it's all vying for our attention along with the social notifications that we're getting and all of these things. We simply can't see or keep up with it all. You think about how much our marketers sending, gobs and gobs and gobs of email. Salespeople are sending all of us tons of email. I don't blame them. A lot of the email is crap, but at this time, some of them are actually pretty good, and all of those companies have to grow. Colleagues are sending us email. How many times have we said, I wish, instead of having a meeting, this person would have sent me an email. And then sometimes when you get an email, it's like, I just wish this person would remove me from this chain because it has nothing to do with me. Friends are sending us email. Systems are sending us email, such as, HubSpot sending us all these notifications and day in and day out about somebody filled out a form, did this, did that, did this. And then social networks are sending us email too, because they're trying to get us back on their platform. I get at least multiple emails from Twitter a day saying, hey, so-and-so posted this. I get the same thing from LinkedIn. So-and-so's post is going viral. You should really check it out. So there's, again, all this stuff vying for our engagement or vying for our attention in the world of email. And there's no shortage from a volume perspective. We actually saw volume of email, and I forget who it was earlier that showcased some of the results from HubSpot studies, but the volume of email since the pandemic began has just exploded. In fact, there's been a lot of studies that say volume of email over the course of 2021 is going to increase over 40% over 2020. So Google and Microsoft are also going to invest more in trying to ensure what makes their inbox is really wanted email. And then, kind of the third challenge is people are changing. We're all trying to, the inbox is ultimately a very, very stressful place. Like, I don't wake up in the morning and it's the days again, dating myself, of AOL, you got mail. And it's like, run to the computer. I got an email. Let me see what it says. It's like, no, when I wake up in the morning, it's like, my inbox. I wonder how many tens of emails I'm going to wake up from, since midnight last night. And now it's 6 in the morning. I'll probably have 30 or 40 of them. So the inbox is a stressful place, and we're all trying to figure out ways to manage it better because we spend an absorbent amount of time in our inbox. And I can tell you some of the filter mechanisms that I use. Like, for example, if an email has the word unsubscribe in it, all of those emails go into a specific folder. And then around 10 o'clock at night, I go and I look at all of the email that went into that folder. And if something catches my attention, I might engage in it. So people, again, are creating all these different types of patterns and the way that they deal with their inbox stress. Now, that's awesome to hear. And then work from home distractions. I may engage in your email, and then my kid comes and knocks on my door and says, Daddy, I need help with school. I need help with this. I need help with that. And then the next thing you know, even though it was a marketing email, I was sitting in it, I may just completely forget about it and my mind has changed. So there's just a lot of distractions. Mobile. If you remember a couple of years ago, everybody was mobile first. I don't disagree with mobile devices. Mobile devices are great for reading content. They're actually horrible for taking action on them. Like, I don't fill out forms unless I have an app like Amazon's. I don't make purchases. Like, I'm not going to click through from a email that I get to make a purchase for a pair of, shoe or shirt if it's not going directly to an app that already has my credit card information, because I don't want to have to pull out my credit card, fill it all out with I do have big thumbs, to TMI, but I would rather just wait till I get back to my desktop to make any type of purchases like that. Now, mobile engagement has decreased significantly since the beginning of the pandemic, and more is happening on the desktop, which I think is great. And then finally, as far as people's behavioral pattern changes, is there's productivity training. Government entities, commercial entities, state and local entities, really whoever you're kind of selling to, a lot of people are now going to productivity training within their respective organizations. And the number one thing they teach in productivity training is do not be a prisoner of email. And what that means is all of these companies and government entities and state and local entities, they realize my employees are spending far too much time in their inboxes and not getting enough actual work done. So what they teach in these productivity training, whether or not it sticks certainly with some people, is that you should be checking your email once or twice per day and then forget about the rest. Sometimes as marketers or salespeople, that's hard for us to understand or comprehend, because our job is to actually really communicate. We therefore have to be in our inboxes constantly. But most of the people that we're selling or marketing to, that's not their, that's not what they're doing. And so they're teaching them in their productivity training, spend no more than 2 hours a day on email, and therefore you'll be a much more efficient employee. So those are some of the fundamental challenges with email. Let's get to some even further brass tacks. Let's look at kind of what today's typical email strategy looks like. And this might vary a little bit, but for the vast majority of people, this is what it looks like, or the vast majority of companies. We acquire an email address. Now, that acquisition can happen through trade shows, webinars, website, inbound, outbound, pay-per-click, social. Maybe I bought a list. And look, I'm not totally against buying lists. I think you have to be very careful with it. Every business has to grow. If you're a B2B organization, hey, there's strategies you can use to make sure that, list purchasing is not a bad thing. And again, we all have to go, and we all have revenue numbers that we have to hit. Now, your email acquisition strategy can either be amazing, or it can actually create all kinds of downstream just badness comes to email. And then after we've acquired your email address, maybe we enrich it with some third-party data. Maybe we have some subscriptions that will give us some more information. In fact, HubSpot CRM does actually a fantastic job of enriching. Even if I only have your email address, it will enrich your contact or your company. It will tell me some of the technologies that your company uses. And so we're enriching that contact information. And then I might create some content. And then I segment my content based off of industry, location, title, past purchases, life cycle. There's all kinds of different things that I can segment it on. And then I blast an email to 5,000, 50,000, or 500,000 of my best friends at 10 a.m. on Tuesday, because either maybe I read a study that says send your emails at 10 a.m., or maybe I did some A/B testing, or maybe I've gotten so intelligent that I use HubSpot's time zone sending or smart, which is riddled with all kinds of issues, but we're not going to go there today. It's better than just blasting, but that is what it is. So that's what today's ultimately typical email strategy looks like. But let's look at some of the pain points that email marketers have to deal with. Is my audience fatigued? Meaning, do I have certain portions of my audience that are just, they used to engage with me a lot, now they're fatigued? We all go through brand fatigue at some, in some way, shape, or form, whether that's in the form of email or whatever it might be. When do I send my email? That's one of the things we just talked about. Can I lower the risk with email delivery, or can I lower the risk that my email is not being caught in spam? How do I load or spread load on my servers or call center? We know a lot of organizations. Think about if you're a B2C organization, and I know there's been number of presentations today around business to consumer or e-com type companies. What happens when you send an email blast to 5,000 or 50,000 people, and it is like the best campaign that you sent? Your website crashes, you run out of stock on the item, you don't have enough operators on chat or that can answer their phone. It more or less becomes a wasted campaign. Your customers get frustrated. So I need to really think about how can I spread the load on my internal servers not to overrun them. Did something go wrong with my email deployment? Do I have a broken landing page, broken images? How do I re-engage dormant leads, meaning people that have gone inactive in my email program? How do I get them to reawaken, to re-engage with my brand? And then how do I decrease bad unsubscribes? Not all unsubscribes are bad, and that's why I call them bad unsubscribes. People that, we may have been sending far too much email to, and they just got frustrated, and then, tuning us out, they actually unsubscribe. So there's just a lot of stress when it comes to email marketing. So talking a little bit about mastering your email strategy going into 2021 and beyond. I know we're already over a quarter of the way through the year, but there's a couple of what I call little big things that you can take action on absolutely today, and they don't involve significant investments. The first of those being authentication. What I mean by this is if you're using HubSpot, ensure that you have your DKIM environment or records set up. If you just go Google DKIM HubSpot, and that's DKIM HubSpot, we'll tell you how to go set up your DKIM. Effectively, what this is doing is a lot of folks on using HubSpot for email marketing are all on what they call shared IPs. And by setting your DKIM record, what that's saying is to the internet, hey, this is 7 Cents email. I take responsibility for the content of this email. Whereas if I don't set up DKIM, I am associated with anybody else on those shared IPs that my email is being sent to that is not set up DKIM. So if there's bad actors, and we all know there's bad actors, people that are spamming or buying tons of lists and they're not cleaning those lists, I could get associated with them, and then that's going to make even more of my emails go to spam. So house cleaning, good foundational item is make sure that your authentication is set up. From subject lines and preview text. These should all be checkboxes when you're actually setting up an email and getting ready to send. From address, if you are a B2B company, I will argue this all day long, it needs to come from a real person, or at least an email that is monitored. Email is really a two-way communication, two-way communication street. If you send me an email that says no reply at xyz.com, how does that make me feel as the consumer? Like, I thought you can invade my inbox, but I can't reply to you. And you would actually be surprised at how many great replies you will get to great content. So use a real address or use an email address but monitor that inbox. There are certainly tools that you can use to monitor those shared inboxes. Drift has something called sales email. And there's another one out there called Lead Gnome, which I would suggest as well. Subject lines and preview text kind of speak for themselves. If you have questions, please just drop them in chat. Basic personalization, using first name. And when I talk about basic personalization, you really have to think about that. If I'm going to invest in basic personalization, such as just using somebody's first name or a company name, make sure you don't put in hi, all capital letters, Mike, and hi is spelled correctly, and then everything else, capitals are correct, except for my name, which is all in capital letters, Mike, or all lowercase letters, Mike. If you're looking for an awesome tool that can automate that entire process, clean your data for you, there's a company called Insickle. They are also part of the HubSpot ecosystem. We utilize it internally, just fantastic tool. If you're doing personalization, you have to invest in that, and they have different tiers that you can use. Email metrics and signals. Make sure you're not just looking at an individual email to understand how an individual email is performing, but overall, your overall email health. And HubSpot has built that email health. And then finally, list cleansing. I know it sucks to do. Sorry, what was the name of that tool? There were two that I mentioned, Lead Gnome and Insickle, INSYCLE. And you can find all those in the HubSpot app ecosystem store. I know it stinks to say, I'm going to take away 10% or 20% of my list and just throw it out, but it's got to be done. It's just part of email marketing. And so list cleaning is a big, I'm going to dive into some of these really quickly. So deliverability protection. Just like we have a credit score in our personal lives, we also have what's called a domain score or domain reputation in the world of email marketing. What that means is Credit scores determine how much a bank is going to lend you. Are they going to lend you? Your domain reputation is based off of, hey, are we actually going to let you into the inbox? And Google, Microsoft, Yahoo, Verizon, they all have their own built or systems built around your domain reputation. And the number one thing that they care about is your audience engaging with you. And then, going down the list is bounce rate, spam complaints, list cleanliness, content filters. Gray mail and ill mail are a thing. So this is where it comes down to list cleanliness. And then audience fatigue, I touched on that before, where you may be sending some of your audience, not all of your audience, but some of your audience too much email. And so you need to take that into consideration. If you're doing any kind of account-based marketing, this is a hot buzzword. HubSpot's making some significant improvements here. If you think you have an ABM strategy, but you haven't thought about your email delivery strategy, you do not have an ABM strategy. And the reason why is, if I have an ABM strategy, that means I'm targeting multiple people within the same organization. Well, the way corporate spam systems work, Google, Microsoft, et cetera, if I blast multiple people at the same organization, the same email, even if it's personalized, with the same content at the same time, that is the biggest red flag to those systems. And guess where your email goes? Into the spam folder, is tagged with marketing in the subject line. What does everybody do? They automatically filter those out. So if you have an ABM strategy, you need to have an email delivery strategy. A/B testing. Most organizations, most at least small to medium-sized organizations, should not be doing A/B testing when it comes to email. That is, I know, a super broad statement. I am happy to argue that point all day long. There are certain instances where you should, but for the most part, most organizations do not have lists that are big enough to represent statistical relevance. So therefore, you're just making gut decisions anyways. And I always like to term the 8% rule. If you can simply increase engagement by percent, what used to take you 13 months will now take you 12. So who is 7 Cents? We're an artificial intelligence system that optimizes the email channel for increased engagement and deliverability. And I'll just go through this real quickly and how it works. Effectively, you have a massive data set inside of HubSpot that you're not using today. We utilize that data to build an individualized profile on every single individual subscriber within your database. And then rather than blasting your emails out or even nurturing your emails out, 7 Cents applies intelligence. And then for your blast, we personalize the send time to each individual. And then finally, if you're nurturing somebody, that nurturing time can actually adjust so that you're targeting people more correctly. So it works much like SEO in the sense that you're trying to get your email to the top of the inbox. To the top of a Google search. 7 Cents' goal is to get you to the top of the inbox when somebody happens to be sitting down and engaging. So this is what the results ultimately look like. You've got 114 read, unread in somebody's inbox. 7 Cents comes along, gets your email to the top. Still up to you to create good content and making sure that your emails are delivered. And then finally, here's a couple of resources that you can use today. These are all ungated resources. Rebecca, yes, absolutely we do. And the primary reason is because her question was, can it help with ABM email deliverability strategy? If so, how? Throttling email is a natural byproduct of what our system does. So it not only personalizes the send time to each individual, whether you're sending to 5,000 or 5 million subscribers, but it will also throttle the email out so that all the email is not going to a single domain at the same time. But here's a couple of resources that you can use. I found HubSpot does not, I scoured the internet before I even built this. Everybody's asking, how do I get revenue or more money from my email channel? And I want to invest more in it. So they take that email produces $41 for every $1 invested. Go use this HubSpot email marketing ROI calculator, and it'll tell you exactly how much your email program is worth to your organization. So if you're getting $30 or even $15 to $1 that you're investing, your CEO should actually appreciate that and say, well, how about I just give you $2 more to go invest in the channel even more? If email optimization is right for you, we've got an ungated calculator there. Email knowledge quiz right there. And then ultimately, if you're looking to just get an overview of everything that I just covered, we have a guide to email optimization for HubSpot. You can obviously reach that on our website, on our resources page, which our website is just the7cents.com. And I know I went over things super quick, but there was a lot to cover, and we're right at the 3 o'clock. So Didn't leave any time for questions. I will hang out if there are any questions, though.
That was a very dense presentation. I love it. Thank you so much. There's a kind of a applause there. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Natalie.
If there are any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. If someone is brave enough to just raise their hand, and then I will bring them on stage. We can take a couple more minutes if there are any. But hey, my question, Mike, to you is, at what point does it make sense for people to start using your tool to see the ROI? When is big enough for you guys to actually show the ROI?
So that it's a fantastic question, and I wish I could give you like just a straight answer. We certainly have customers that have as small as 400, 500 contacts in HubSpot, all the way to our biggest customer today has around 13 million. So, and the reason why I say even it just varies so much is if 5 contacts are delivering you tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars of revenue, those 500 people are incredibly important to reach day in and day out whenever you want to get your message across. And the actual technology behind 7 Cents was developed to support an individual sales rep, meaning that's why we built the tool initially. Was I want to reach Sarah as a sales rep, and I want to reach Sarah, and I want to have the highest probability of reaching Sarah because I want to be above the other 5 competitors and everything else vying for her attention. So I would use it to reach Sarah. And then we got a huge organization on board, and that's ultimately their use case. They also use it for calling people. So that's a long-winded answer to your question of it really does range. It matters how much email is worth to you as an organization.
Got it. And it just occurred to me that maybe the smaller list is actually more important for those who have a smaller list, maybe even more important to use you guys because you don't have a lot to waste, right?
Right. Absolutely. That's a fantastic point.
Awesome. Well, Mike, thank you so much. It was a very dense presentation. You delivered it so quickly. Thank you so much. Definitely a lot of value here, and look forward to chatting with you really soon.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Natalie. And again, thanks everybody for joining.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And I will see you everyone next session.